parents are south of Colorado Springs. That's where they do their shopping.
I remember, about the same age I guess, but ads where you would always send away to P.O. Box something or other, Pueblo, Colorado, for more information. That's I always knew Pueblo.
Yep.
You're just going to go. You're going to do them. Okay. Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and call our meeting for Tuesday, June 20th to order. If you would please rise and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is the approval of our minutes from our June 5th meeting.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion we approve those minutes as submitted.
And I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes. Accounts payable, Paula.
Mr. President, I would like to recommend the claims from June 15th, 2023 through June 20th, 2023 be approved without exception.
So moved.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Paula, payroll.
And Mr. President, I'd like to recommend the payroll dated June 9th, 2023 be approved without exception.
So moved.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes. Creation of new positions, part of the 2024 budget process. Commissioner Murtaugh?
Yeah. We had requests for new positions from Carrie Home, the Sheriff's Department, Community Corrections, Do It, Soil and Water, Fairgrounds, and the Assessor. With that, I'll run through a list of recommendations with motions. For Carrie Home, I'll make a recommendation for 2024 that we create a Clinical Services Director position as an SO. In addition to that, it'll be eliminating a home-based clinical therapist position as a PAT 4 and a truancy mediation coordinator as a PAT 3.
And I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
Okay. For the Sheriff's Department, for 2024, I'll make a motion that we create 3 transport officers as a poll 3, 1 maintenance position, an LTC 4, a dispatcher, which is a poll 2 position, that's 1, a jail administrative assistant, which is a comment 3, 2 merit deputies, which are merit 0 through 12.
And I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries.
Okay. And for soil and water, I will make a motion that we create for 2024 a rural conservationist as a PAT 3, with that position being contingent upon grant funding.
And I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
For the fairgrounds, I will make a motion we create for 2024 a position for as custodian, which is an LTC 2.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. For the assessor, for 2024, I would make a motion that we create a field staff specialist position, which is a comment 4. But in addition to that, eliminate a field staff agent, which is a comment 3 position. Both of those would be contingent upon approval by the Personnel Committee.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries. Mr. Masson, the next order of business is a resolution accepting the state public health funding.
Yeah, this is a resolution that opts into the state made available extra money for counties that chose to opt in. It has to do with providing what's defined as core public health services, and this is a list of things, and maybe Dr. Loomis can comment if I'm wrong, but I believe the health department already does. I mean, the long list includes food protection, communicable disease prevention, screening childhood lead exposure, pest control, pool inspection, goes on and on. It doesn't say much about what the resolution has to include, so this is a very simple resolution saying that you're opting into this process. The statute says that you can, there's a list of things like food protection, pest and vector control, residential on-site sewage system, a division of those core public health services. You can only spend up to 40% on those. The remainder of the core public health services they've set out, you can spend 60% or more on. The state's going to be developing state-level metrics, supposedly, I think, in the next year. Maybe they've already done it. And then in 2024, I believe they're supposed to establish county-level metrics, and there will be reporting obligations that come along with that, with meeting those metrics, I believe.
And I know the bill changed significantly through the course, the legislative process, but I believe, and maybe Dr. Loomis could talk about this more, but I think like only 10% can be used for bricks and mortar. Is that correct?
I don't think those, I might have missed something, but I don't think it had anything to say about bricks and mortar.
Okay. And then what about the actual funding amount? It was originally about $5 million, but it got cut back, correct? To, is it half of that for 2024?
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I don't know where the money went, like I just worked off.
Well, I know it.
I don't know where it went.
Yeah.
We were originally, you're exactly correct, the money was supposed to be $5 million plus, and then all of a sudden, one day it went down to 2 point, and I do have this for you guys. You may have seen this, but this is off the press as of last week. Kind of gives a little bit of breakdown.
Okay.
That might help you. Of course, this could change, because it changed just from the previous week from this. So, I think I may have mentioned in one of the meetings, I would have been happy to get 50% of that 5.6, which is what it looks like we're getting this year and the next year, as you can see from this list. And I do have some copies for the media, if you're interested. We'll be, getting about 5.4, between 450 and 5.4, depending on what the general fund contributes. And I do believe in the original thing, Doug, that there was something about a 10% bricks and mortar. I didn't see it on the most recent one, but it was on the original one. We'll have to check into that. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it does say that on the back of the sheet. Capital expenses paid for with state funds are capped at 10% each year.
Yep.
Okay. So what the difference between the minimum and the maximum for 2024, is that our level of participation?
Yes, I think partly your level of participation and whether or not the other county commissioners decided to opt out. Then that money would be dumped into the fund and divvied up statistically and proportionally according to the amount. So there were a couple factors, but you are correct. That was part of it, and the other part was, I believe, participation, and I think as of last week, as of this writing here, the participants, everybody's made up their mind up to this point.
Okay.
There might be a couple outstanding that I don't know of.
And then do we know, like, you know, will the amount for 2024 be distributed, you know, in January of 2024, or how, or will it be prior to 2024 if we opt in now?
My understanding, Commissioner Murtaugh, is that it's going to be distributed in January of 2024
Okay.
and January of 2025. There was talk back at the beginning that there would be two separate allotments, one in January, one in June, but now that's been changed to January of each year, at least at this point. We do have to have a budget into the state by September 1st, based on how we're going to, you know, spend this money once we get allocation from you gentlemen, but once, and the county council. But we're working on that as well, and I will have you invited to that meeting when we make our final determination, because I really appreciate all of your inputs in this.
Okay. And do these funds have to be appropriated just like any other funds?
I would think so. I think it's just money coming from the state. But,
Okay.
I guess I didn't see anything that treated them differently than any other funds.
Okay.
I guess that's all I can say.
And that's my understanding as well. It's not a grant, it is an allotment rather than a grant, but yeah.
Jennifer, do you anticipate this just being put into their regular budget, or would this be budgeted as a separate budget?
It would likely have its own fund.
Okay, so it would be a separate budget. I mean, they, just like they budget their tobacco cessation money, I think that's probably gone now.
Right,
but-
but they're likely going to have to do it outside of the budget process
Okay,
as an appropriation, but just outside of our normal
okay,
budget process,
Okay.
I would think.
I think that's my understanding, Jennifer.
okay.
I do know that as the legislation was winding through the General Assembly, they're, you know, talking to commissioners from across the state. Obviously, initially, when this first came out, there were concerns about local control. And the last section of our resolution pretty much lays out that it's very clear that by accepting it, we're not losing local control of decisions for the health department in terms of the types of programs that we're going to pursue. And I know in our discussions, you're comfortable with the way the statute ended up.
Oh, I think the more minds we have and more I's are dotted and T's are crossed, especially with your gentleman's expertise and certainly, you know, Jennifer and et al., I think that's the way we should always approach this as a community effort looking for a common goal. But I do have some wonderful ideas.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Loomis?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2023-07-CM.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes.
And actually, Dr. Loomis, I do have one more question. On the form at which we actually opt in with the state,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Murtaugh, I thought maybe you were getting ready to yell at me for taking the sign-up sheet. But that's not the case. Go ahead, sir.
the form that, the online form in which we need to opt in, is that something your office is going to do, or do you want our office to do that?
Whatever works for you, we can take care of it for you.
I don't know that it matters, does it?
I think once your signature is on the page, the resolution, we should be good to go, and we'll do whatever we can to help you with that, if need be.
We'll just go ahead and take care of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have Resolution 2023-08-CM for the transfer of surplus tasers.
Yeah, while he's walking up, this is interlocal for two political subdivisions to transfer property. They have to adopt similar resolutions. Town of Dayton adopted one that looked a lot like this, and it transfers some tasers that I guess the sheriff's department no longer needs to the town of Dayton where they'll be useful.
Sheriff?
Yeah, what he said. No, this is something we've done in the past to help our town marshals. They're no longer of use to us because we upgrade, so it helps the town. It saves them a little bit of money, and we work closely with them all the time.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2023-08-CM.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, we have a construction contract with American Paving and Asphalt for paving at the animal shelter in the amount of $105,000 even. I'll make a motion, we approve that contract.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. GM Development?
Okay, so for our Community Corrections Edition and the jail annex, it looks like we have an April disbursement request in the amount of $17,403.52, as well as a final disbursement for that project in the amount of $46,625.43. I'll make a motion, we approve both of those disbursements.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Sharon? Good morning.
Morning. So this morning, I'd like to ask permission to apply for the Emergency Preparedness Grant through the Health Department, $25,000 in the Emergency HHP and PHEP grant funding to further the public health preparedness capabilities and ongoing programming.
Oh, Mr. President, I will make a motion, we grant permission to apply, as stated.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I'd like to ask permission for the commissioners that were awarded the $550,000 for the 2023 FSA DMHA collaboration, the match program of the opioid settlement payment, to further the ability of having resources available to our citizens needing assistance from the Tippecanoe Regional Opioid Community Committee.
And then you had said it had an attached letter. Is that in the file?
Oh, it was attached electronically.
Oh,
Jennifer printed it out for you.
okay.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Oh, so we don't need to sign that?
No, there's nothing to sign. It's just the award letter saying that we've got it, and
No, this
There-
is a news release.
we had to submit a scope of work last Thursday that has more details on it, and that's when the contract will be finalized and sent to us.
Okay. Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we grant permission to accept.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any unfinished or new business to be brought before the board?
I have none.
And we have reports on file from the clerk's office and the treasurer's office, and those will be available immediately following the meeting in our office across the hall. Public comment. Anybody from the public like to comment on any matters to be brought before the board?
Good morning. My name is Janet Hildreth, and I've been in touch with Commissioner Brown several times now about the situation on our road. I live on the Tippecanoe Carroll County Road, and several of my neighbors are with me this morning to make comments about this. Our concern is, why is there no pavement provided from County Road 500 North to County Road 900 North, which is part of the county line? We have lived there, our family has lived there for 73 years, and we've seen quite a few roads paved, including the county line, except for those 4 miles. We have been dealing with dust over the years, dust abatement with oil or with calcium chloride, which serves some purpose, but when the road grader goes by with the blade down over the calcium chloride provided road space, that decreases the dust abatement, and we're dealing with a lot of dust, especially those of us who live close to the road. So one of our questions is, why has that area of road not been paved? The other questions we have is that over the years since we've lived there, there has been a change in the type of gravel that has been used on the roads, and I have an example for you. And I'll bring it up to you. This is what is in front of my house. This type of gravel is not the type of gravel that we had when we moved there 50 years ago, or when my in-laws moved there 23 years earlier. These are rocks, not gravel. It is very hard on our tires, on our cars, on our lawns, on our mowers, because these rocks, because of the truck traffic that we have on the road, go into our yards. So we're asking a question, why has this gravel changed, and why are we getting more rocks rather than pea-sized gravel? The other questions that we have is that, or I have, and my neighbors may add more to it, when dust abatement is provided, we're given, I think, 300 feet. I think that's what it is, and if we want more than that, we have to pay for it. Why do we have to pay for it when people who have their roads repaved or chipped and sealed aren't given a bill for what's happening there? We pay gas tax like all of the other people who live on that road, and that's what I'm told is the source of funding for paving and anything else. But those of us who have gravel parts have to pay if we're going to have more than 300 feet of dust abatement put on. Don't think that that's fair at this particular point. Now, I know that there are traffic limits, or the number of vehicles that pass on the road, is one of the decision-making factors for paving the road. And Commissioner Brown told me that 120 is the number that we receive on a daily basis. And the number of people or homesteads on this road also is part of that consideration for paving a road. Don't know that that is really a qualifying number, or that these are qualifying numbers for not paving a road. All of the people on that road pay gas taxes, not just those who are living where it is paved. So we would like a request from the Highway Department, from the commissioners, and I've been told that the commissioners decide what part of the roads are going to be paved, that this is something that you take into consideration. I have looked at the budget that's been put out by the Highway Department, and there is no mention that these 4 miles will be considered, at least this year, and probably not next year. I've also been informed that if we want it paved, we can go ahead and provide funding for this. Do not think that this is a fair request, since the paving and the money for paving comes from the state and not necessarily from the county. And when roads are repaved or re-chipped and sealed, people who live on that road are not sent a bill to pay for that. Why should those of us who now are living on a gravel part of that road have to pay to have it paved? So I would ask you to consider those questions. Commissioner Brown, you sent me some information about the amount that would be required from the individuals who live in that section to pay to have that paved. And I would like you to share that with, if you can, this morning with the rest of the people, as I have not had time since we talked this morning to contact everyone about this. I would like you to take this into consideration and hear from a couple of other people who've also talked. Now, someone said, and you had said we don't have enough traffic on this. It might be that we don't have enough traffic on that road because part of it is not paved, and people who have just washed their cars don't want to travel on those 4 miles, because by the time you get through those 4 miles, your car needs to, or truck needs to be washed again. So we would ask you to consider this in your decision-making about paving roads. And I thank you for allowing me to express my concerns. Commissioner Brown got more than an earful when we talked at one time. There's a road that just extends at the end of our property, 800 North, that several years ago was paved from the county line to State Road, the old now State Road 25. The Hoosier Heartland Highway was in consideration at that time, and it was known that 800 North would be transected by the highway. From the county line to beyond the railroad and to the Hoosier Heartland is now the only portion of that we have access to from the county line. That road was paved. There were 6 houses on that road, not a great number of houses. And now there are no houses from the county line to the cul-de-sac where the Hoosier Heartland transects it. Why this was paved? The only ones who use it are the farmers that plant the fields to the south of 800 North and our fields, which are to the north of 800 North. That was a laughable point for us to know that this road was paved, knowing that it would be dead-ended when the Hoosier Heartland Highway came through. Why aren't our 4 miles paved? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go through and try, well, is there somebody else that was going to step up?
Yeah.
And if you would, it's important that you state your name, your address, and also before you leave today, please be sure to sign the log. It just helps with our minutes, preparing those for the next meeting.
Good morning. My name is Ethan Brubaker, and we have a nice group of neighbors that I live right across the road from Gail and Janet. And I think she has said most of what we wanted to bring before you. Obviously, I want to make one point, and that is that I bought my house more recently, much more recently. I'm much younger than them. For all the reasons that I could talk about, and I don't need to waste everyone in this room's time. It would be a huge, exciting factor if it could be considered to pave our road. Again, all the things that Janet nicely brought before, those are all things I had wrote down. I don't see any need to cover them again. One small factor that I'll say, it feels like each winter, each time going into winter is when they spread the gravel, and the first snowstorm that comes without the gravel being froze, 2/3 of that freshly dumped rock is in our well manicured lawns, and so we spend a good bit of time in the spring taking that out so we don't hit it with our mower. Appreciate what you do. If you'd take it into consideration, it'd mean a lot to us. And I don't know what further things I need to say, but appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Sheila Rosenthal, 2856 Ashland Street in West Lafayette. And I just briefly want to mention, as a bicyclist visiting my friends on that road, so it's not only for people who live there, but people who are going to travel there like I on a bicycle, and it would improve being able to use that area in the county for recreation.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would like, if the Highway Department could step to the podium, I'll have some questions, and I'll make some comments based on some of the conversations, 2 or 3, 4 conversations I've had with Mrs. Hildreth. I inquired about the rocks, and I talked to Brian Sterner, who is he's our superintendent out at the Highway Garage, and he spoke with Rusty Lurch, who has been there for a number of years. And neither of them are aware of any change and I don't remember the number of the product. I can't remember if it's 23 or 33, but whatever it is, they assure me that they're not aware of anything that has changed in recent years with that. But I do see there are some pretty big chunks of limestone in there. So What say you, County Highway Engineer?
I think one of the things you asked them to announce is the pricing, the participation. There's been a policy for a number of years on okay, first off, 300 cars a day. That's the break off. It's recalculated at different times. It's based on, it's just taxpayer, protecting taxpayer dollars. You all it costs to be on a gravel road, and when enough people are driving that gravel road, there's some expenses to driving on a gravel road, and when that reaches the maintenance level, annual maintenance level for a paved road, which costs more to maintain a gravel road, then that's where you do the breakover. Okay, it's costing the public more to drive the road than to maintain a paved road. That makes sense. So that's that breakover point. We've had this policy in place for a number of years where if the homeowners go skin in the game kind of thing and participate, and originally the dollar value was set on half of the material cost of the triple chip, if you're aware of triple chip pavement. Our experience with that program has been that we put down a triple chip pavement, and it doesn't take too many farm loads to destroy a triple chip pavement. And so that's the problem. You have those intermittent heavy loads. So we're doing full depth pavement when we do these. So basically, it's a $30,000 skin in the game. We spend $200,000 on the conversion material. Just like, you know, we got skin in the game. That's been our policy. Is that?
And that is that amount for that 1 mile. That can be spread amongst the neighbors that live there. It's not $30,000 per person that lives there. It's divided up against those participants. And in fact, that's what the neighbors did on the stretch. I mean, I know it's been a gravel roadway forever, but I think what kind of brought this to the head was the East County Line Road north of you from 900 north into Carroll County is paved, and the folks that live up there actually availed themselves of this policy and paid their basically a cost share on it, which is, when you look at the total project, it is minimal. And again, the policy's been in place, and we have to. Well, it'd be easy to question the number piece of it. That's really what we have to make that determination, and that goes into that 300 vehicle count, goes into all of the decisions that are made relative to this throughout the county. We have 200, I think, Stu, you said 220 miles of unpaved roadways, gravel roadways in Tippecanoe County. Believe me, we would love it if they were all paved, but it's just virtually impossible. And I don't know what we add to the inventory on an annual basis on conversion. It's not, I would venture to say it's probably not a lot. And if you came to us today and said, or next week and said, hey, we're on board, this $30,000 sounds like a good deal, we wouldn't even be able to do the project this year. It would be something that would have to be pushed off because we've already got things scheduled, work scheduled and everything, and that's just how tight the dollars are.
And in 2017, when the state legislature addressed, the road funding the last time, there was an uptick in local share of road funding. That has essentially diminished. It's now at or below where it was prior to 2017. On top of that, we're a growing county, and so we've got to use this same pot of money to do maintenance on everything that we already have, plus, in certain cases, build new roads, construct new roads to comply with our growth. But then also the cost of inflation has just has really eaten into the amount of work that we can get done each year. So, I mean, we used to, when I first was commissioner, this program was up and running, and, if folks didn't have the traffic count to qualify it for being considered for paved and wanted to do the cost share participation, we allocated that money to that. Now we're talking about either having to limit the amount we even do through this program or potentially not do it at all because the funding is just so short. So like Commissioner Brown stated, we'd love to be able to pave every road in Tippecanoe County. Unfortunately, we just don't have the funding for it. Sure.
So when was the last metering done on our road? When was the last time you counted the amount of traffic?
This year, 23.
I think
This year,
it happened
every
in
3 years.
this year. Yeah.
We count a third of the roads every year, and I think yours was this year, 23.
Was this year? And what was the number?
20.
So, and then I want to make sure I understand, the number is 30,000 a mile, and that would be our split among the people who live along the road, Beaver County. And if people don't agree, like if somebody doesn't want to participate, it just gets divided among the other houses, or what?
Yes. We generally, it has been our practice to have one representative come in and sign up and say, yes, we will pay the $30,000 for this mile. And up to them to collect from whoever they collect from. Because we just, don't want to get into that. And usually it's one representative of 5, 7 homeowners will get together. Sometimes people opt out and the others pick up the slack.
So the fact that, like, Ethan lives on the Carroll County side of the road, and if we can get the money out of Ethan, that you don't care, right?
Right, we don't care. The last section that was done up north, the commissioners were talking about, most of that money came from Carroll County residents using that road.
Carroll.
All of it? Yeah.
Well,
Tippecanoe County maintains that whole East County line.
Yes.
let's end the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
County's on, that's state legislature. That's actually national. You maintain south and east.
I'm going to make a suggestion that we could just go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I'm going to be here, and we can hold a more detailed discussion and everything. It means a lot to have you folks here today, and I appreciate Janet. We started talking about this some time ago and just put things together piece by piece, and we'll keep working. Hopefully, we'll come up with a solution. So, with that,
Ask for any public comment.
any additional public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
And we're adjourned.